Are we moving on yet? Or
yeah, it's not slowing me down. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move on to the next one. If you're ready, Rebecca.
What are we moving on to? Highland Park.
It's the Highland Park.
And then we all have the same one? No, we don't have the same one.
No, we don't have the same one here. Again, I couldn't find the 10
Ardbeg we do.
here, but the Ardbeg we do. So this is for us.
I'm unboxing. Look at that beautiful blue interior.
Ooh, I do like
really
that
nice
color.
And I love the graphic design they do.
Yeah, that image is neat. It's like a Celtic
and on the
sorta...
and on the inside they say join our inner circle.
There you can log on. We're having a
Highland Park Magnus. Very 40%. Different.
It is. Yours is transparent.
Oh, yes, but it's all like it's all this is beautiful. Yeah. That's a nice piece of art. That's a problem. I have I'm beginning to develop an old lady thing where if it's a beautiful bottle, I need to keep it. And my boyfriend is like, "What's with this cupboard full of mason jars and empty bottles?" It's a problem.
It's yeah. Well, you mentioned that your family has some collection issues, some collectors.
Dribble glass.
Yes, I collect glass too, but it just has to be full of whiskey. Once it's not full of whiskey, I really don't keep it.
Okay, what do we need to know before I pull the cork on this? You've pre-poured.
We have pre-poured, yes. So you're having the Highland Park 10-year-old Viking Scars at 40%. And this comes from one of the, I believe, the most northern distillery in Scotland making Scotch whiskey. It's the Highland Park. It's on Isle of Orkney, way up at the north end. If you want to show them, or I can show. Way up.
Oh,
get my arm over
and
there.
Viking, and it's called Viking Scars.
Viking Scars, and this one's called Magnus.
This is. Sorry, just like it's a trauma whiskey, guys. Viking Scars. They rode over.
That's how they create the raising on the bottle. Is they actually scar the bottle and it just heals.
Oh, bless them.
Man, okay. That was gonna be my band name too, Viking Scars, but I guess it's been used.
Can't happen.
It's been used.
So we're doing this one. We're having a sip with no water to begin.
Yes, I would recommend starting there so you know where you're coming from. You know what the whiskey is.
Ooh.
Oh boy!
Wow! Yeah.
It smells quite different.
Yes.
This is nice this is really sweet and rich.
So when I compare them, because I still have a little bit of Lafrague, like Lafrague's got like a really kind of like almost to my nose like a dusty vibe to it in a good way. And then this one is like.
This is more caramel to me. This
yeah, that's I think that's what I smell.
And I think you're smelling a lot of the difference in what the plant life was that went into the peat, because I think in Islay there's an awful lot of seaweed that gives it like more of an iodine feel. And I'm not sure where Highland Park gets theirs from. It might be around Inverness as well.
Inverness is here.
And so you were saying earlier on the peat scale, have we gone up a little bit, peat scale wise or something?
No, I think Highland Park does it less than Lafroig. I'm very confident. It'll say down here. See, I'm doing it to myself. I would guess in the 10 to 15 parts per million range.
I'm taking a sip of water to cleanse the palate, guys.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Oh. There aren't like a ton of things you can do wrong. Other than like drop a giant ice cube in here. You know what I mean? Mix it with something. Those are the only real things,
Eating a really spicy.
My family likes to make a good rusty nail at Christmas. So that's another horrible thing you can do.
Well, just don't use a good scotch to do that. Use a blended. A nice use a little like banknote or something. That's fine. It's you can still use a scotch, just not a.
Oh, that's
smooth.
Even though Lafroig had the sherry casks, this is much sweeter.
It is.
And I've never done this before, where I taste different scotches back to back. So.
It's, I think, much different than wine tasting. Like the flavors are so completely different. And that is the thing that Andrew always says, and I agree with him, is like scotches are surprising. Like everyone tastes entirely different. And the range of flavors is crazy, crazy wide. Like you can, like the things that Andrew has put in my mouth.
Oh wow! Okay.
That are scotches are the flavor range is incredibly wide.
Now, if I were to buy like 2 bottles of these side by side, if I poured them side by side, are they meant to, like, they should in theory taste exactly the same? Or
Yes.
is there taste variance?
Well, what the malt master is trying to do when they vat the whiskey is they're trying to produce a consistent experience. So when you go and get Laphroaig Select, you're going to want to taste something the same. When you get the Lagavulin 16, you want that, you know what that tastes like. That's the flavor you want out of it. So they're going to select the casks and certain percentages of certain casks to try and hit that flavor consistently. And that's what they are trying to do. But if you get a single cask, then it's all over the place. Then you can have one that brings more of the sherry notes. You can have one that brings more of the vanilla from the bourbon. You can have one that brings kind of red wine flavors or port flavors, or, you know, whatever cask they're using. There's some that are using rum casks to finish the whiskey now, which gives it a kind of a tropical bananas flavor at times. Really interesting stuff.
I do feel like now I've been a Laphroaig drinker for like, I don't know, probably 10 years or more now. And
how do I not know this about you? This is like, of course we're friends. Yeah.
Well, we live separately. We don't hang out as often as we should. It's the tragedy of modern times.
Yeah.
But I would say that because I've the standard 10-year Laphroaig is what I've been drinking for that time mostly, and I think they do try to get like a very specific flavor profile, but I definitely over time, like I would like, this bottle's a bit different here or different there, like because it's, you know, like they're not exactly the same because they
how could they be?
Yeah. It's a natural product, and it's going to vary. And I think if you got 2 batches from the same year, like 2 bottles from the same year,
that should taste the same.
That just tastes very, very similar. But if you go multiple years, it might drift a little bit. But they're really, really, they'll have reference bottles there of previous years, so they can go back and taste that and go, okay, are we getting close?
Yeah, they're very close, but I've detected some drift from, you know, having that experience. So I'll occasionally get a bottle of Laphroaig and I'll be like, oh, this is different, a bit different, you know? Yeah.
So the house that my partner and I live in, we bought a couple of years ago, and it was built in 1912.
Drafty.
Yeah, a little bit. And so we started to renovate the attic. So our electrician was up there pulling up floorboards, and we found 7 empty whiskey bottles underneath the floorboards, all empty.
Have gone to your collection, right?
That's the thing. I can't get rid of them. They're too cool. One of them actually has the year label on it. It says 1912 on it. So it's like, I kind of need to keep these.
Are you going to show them to us? Can we see those?
Yeah.
I can literally run downstairs and get one.
We were talking manly beard stuff while you were away.
Oh, yes. Like what? Like deep conditioning the beard, all that jazz?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly that.
You got to do it. Are you ready for show and tell?
We absolutely are.
Okay.
This is exciting.
Show us what you got.
Okay, this is the only 1, 2, 3. I brought you 5 examples. This is the only one that has the date label on it. 1912.
Wow.
Right there.
This is like pre-prohibition.
This is called Imperial Whiskey, distilled and bottled by Hiram Walker and Sons.
Hiram Walker, yeah.
In Walkerville, Ontario, matured in cask in warehouses which are warmed during the cold season and bottled by distillers in bond under government supervision. All of our corks and capsules bear our name. The brand, trademark, and label are registered. There's the label.
That is amazing.
Kind of like,
oh my God.
Covered in dirty soot.
Uh-huh. That's fantastic.
And then on the back, then there's a little message to the consumer, and it says, we can no longer obtain our capsules which are made in France. The exportation of lead from France having been prohibited, we expect to obtain a satisfactory substitute shortly, but in the meantime, our usual capsule must be omitted. I don't know what that means.
What does that mean? A capsule?
Like maybe it came in a container?
I don't know.
That was made of lead?
Who knows? We'll have to do a little research.
I think so.
So there's that one. Now this one is called Old Highland Whiskey. A. McMurdo and Company, Argyllshire.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has a certificate of analysis on the front. I hereby certify that I have conducted a careful chemical analysis of the McMurdo and Company Scotch whiskey selected by me personally from the stock as bottled I find it to be a pure spirit of excellent flavor and well matured, and can recommend it to those desiring pure Scotch whiskey.
That's awesome.
And that is signed by, I can't read the signature, but there's that guy.
Wow. Look at that.
By A. Mac Murdo.
You gotta, I mean, that's signed, that's certified. You've got to believe that, because that's an official document right there, right on
Isn't
the bottle.
that cool? I just love, like, yeah, I just love the history of this. And also in my mind thinking whoever built our house in 1912 was pissed out of their mind while they were doing it.
But it looks like they had some pretty good whiskey to go with it.
We have Wilson's Canadian Old Empire Rye, and this was aged in oak staves. And that was done, this is Montreal.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Well, whoever this is clearly a connoisseur, because they have a range of things. They didn't just buy the same bottle over and over again and drink it. Like they have.
Maybe. This
is not someone, I think, who was like. So I wonder if, like, it wasn't the people who made your house, but maybe it was someone who lived in your house and kept that stuff up their secret from like their husband or their wife.
Family.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
like,
that was the other thing, is like hiding the empties. And then for some reason, I love this label. This is King George IV Scotch whiskey. And this is from the Distillers Company in Edinburgh. And this one says special quality, guaranteed to contain the finest Highland malt and other Scotch whiskeys matured in sherry wood. And look at that label. Isn't that great?
That's amazing.
This is amazing.
Top
I feel
notch.
like
top notch.
I feel like an archaeologist of Scotch.
Yeah. It's so funny that I didn't until I completely forgot about that. And then, guys, my favorite bottle of the entire batch, this one right here. There's no label. There's no label, but there's still cobwebs on it. If I just rub this little, it just says.
The genie comes out.
Oop. It just says matured in wood, and there's a little tiny, I'm just going to clean it off, some sort of bizarre like little insignia there.
Huh.
But there's no other label. But it still has a cork in it.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Now I wonder, like, is it possible that those, I guess that oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was possible that some of those still had whiskey in them and they just evaporated over time.
I don't think so. These ones are like empty. Hmm. This old Wilson's one I love because it has the cork, but the cork has glass on the top.
Oh wow!
Which is really cool. Yeah.
Anyway,
those are my very, very dirty props.
Andrew, do you know, like, when was the legal, like, when did they make the law that you can't call it Scotch unless it's from Scotland? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question.
At what time?
I don't know when that went into effect. I would guess it'd be pretty early on, like once the tax man came in. I think that's when it kind of got regulated. So I would guess 1600s. I don't know.
That's probably.
Oh, look, it says down there. Great.
I didn't do it. You did that yourself.
I know.
Do you hate doing those links? Is that it?
No. I always gripe about it. But yeah, I like doing the research. It's fine.
Of course, we mostly, I was like, every time they'd lift a floorboard, I was like, where's the bag of money?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No bag of money.
Old CP rail bonds or something.
Now, do you believe in ghosts, Rebecca? Is your house haunted?
Oh, our house is 100% haunted.
I love hearing about ghosts.
Yeah, so our house, we think, is haunted by the ghost of the lady that owned it before us. And we know that her name was Jean.
She's still alive, though.
Well, we actually, so when we bought the house, her family contacted us through the real estate agent to say, there's some of her furniture, we just don't want it. So can we just leave it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So our house came with a sideboard and a dining room table and a bunch of old wooden chairs and like a whole bunch of her handwritten notes and all this stuff. So when my boyfriend was here by himself renovating, he's very fastidious. So if he was working on a room at the end of the day, the last thing he would do is sweep, 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 and clean. Always clean the job site. And when he would come back in the morning, there would be bobby pins everywhere. Bobby pins on the windowsill. Bobby pins on the floor. And I was like, well, that sounds like Jean has taken a shine to you. and she's flirting by leaving her hairpins around. And that happened like consistently while he was doing renos, that he would clean and he'd come back the next day and there'd be a couple bobby pins. She's sassy.
I love any story that's about ghosts. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, me too.
Because you can ask anybody. You can be like, "Have you ever seen like a ghost?" And everybody will be like, "Oh, I have a story of a ghost encounter or something."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I saw my mom a couple of hours after she died.
Wow.
For sure. And then also for in the 6 months after she passed away, she did not like the guy that I was dating at the time, and like there were some shenanigans in the house, and he was always on the receiving end of them. And I was like, I think my mom does not like you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, happens.
Very visceral.
Yeah, the last improv show that I directed was Improvised Ghost Stories, and it was
so good.
Yeah, it was a really fun show. I love it too because it can be funny, but also just like I love scary improv. That's I love scary improv.
Guys, I'm so over funny improv.
I know.
It's so 21st century. Like, can we move beyond hilarity, please?
Yeah.
The shows I remember best from the ghost stories were the ones where there was a touching, heartfelt moment, that it was just a story of love. Like the one guy on the airplane who has the ghost wife with him all the time, nagging him, and finally finds love, and suddenly it's quiet again. Like that story, I love that story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like laughs. Funny improv is like the fast food of the improv world, you know. But if you want to like move up to fine dining, move me, make me cry.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stuff I remember.
For sure.
Yeah.
You can still be laughs along the way. It can still
absolutely.
have surprises and delights.
Yeah.
But then those laughs in contrast. Do you know what I mean? When you have a really serious moment, then the next laugh is even better because now we're releasing tension.
Yeah, I think you have to have some laughs. Like even a tragedy, like a Shakespearean tragedy or any tragedy has laughs along the way, because otherwise it would just be, excruciating. Like
the more laughs in a tragedy, the more laughs, the better.
Yeah, because then the pain is like deeper, right? It's because of the contrast.
And you're you're ratcheting up the tension, right? With just like apprehension grows as we are laughing.
Or you get that hope that it's like maybe it'll be okay, maybe it's gonna be okay, and then before it's snatched away from you.
See, that's way more satisfying.
Yeah, we agree.
And soul crushing.
More darkness.
More darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about improv too is like it might end up being okay. Like the ending might not. You might not get snatched away from you. You might there might be a heartfelt, touching resolution where everything works out okay, right? You don't know.
Chances are not, though. Just in general practice.